Hello and welcome to We Poets. My name is Sally Baker and I'm the host of We Poets. We Poets is a poetry show for boys and girls between the ages of 6 and 13. But we're doing a special series called Battlefield Poets, and I'm going to be interviewing veterans who are returning from conflict in Iraq, Afghanistan, and some of their children, if they have children. Tonight we have two special guests. My guest is a veteran, and he also works at a veterans agency that helps veterans. And we have one of our interns whose father was a veteran. Our guest for tonight is Anthony Sordini. I hope I pronounced that right. And he's going to tell us all about his experiences. So now here's Anthony. Hi, Anthony.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you tonight?
I'm doing very well.
Good. I'm so glad you could come and tell us about your experiences as being in the military and also working for a VA agency. Could you please tell us, in what branch of the military did you serve?
Well, I served in the United States Air Force from 1999 to 2003.
And what countries were you in?
I was deployed to Diego Garcia, which is actually British territory, but I also had spent some time in UAE, United Arab Emirates, and also in Guam as well.
Good.
So, yeah.
Did you learn to speak Arabic?
No, I did not.
No. But you didn't have any trouble communicating with people?
I did not have any trouble communicating with people. Yeah, I was mostly deployed in areas where it was military personnel. So.
Good. Let's see here. And what was there a public celebration for you when you returned back home?
It wasn't a public celebration, but they did have a celebration for our squadron returning at the military base that I was at.
And what took place in that celebration?
Well, a lot of families were greeting soldiers and other airmen who had just returned, and also people from the squadron, people from our unit as well. So
good.
Yeah.
And how many were in your unit?
It was about 300 people or so.
That
so yeah,
many?
and returning off of the deployment, we had about 110 people.
Good.
So at that time.
How many women were in your unit?
Not that many. I was an aircraft mechanic, but I would say probably a dozen or so.
Really?
Yeah.
And could you tell us, what did your duties consist of?
So my major duty was to inspect aircraft systems for a modified DC-10, so kind of like a commercial aircraft or a transport aircraft. I'd look it over and inspect it, and if there was anything wrong with it, then I would fix it.
What were some of the things that might go wrong with the aircraft?
A lot of things could go wrong, from something like a tire being flat, small like that, or hydraulic systems failure, engine problems. Pretty much any system has things that can go wrong with it, and at times do.
Now, where did you learn this trade? In the military or before you went in?
Yeah, absolutely. So part of the military process is going to your MOS training, your A school, your AFSC, depending on which branch you're in. And for me, it was about a 1.5 year long training.
Then when you came out, did you seek work in this area?
No, I did not. I went straight to college.
You went straight to college.
Yeah.
And what did you major in?
I majored in sociology and political science.
And where at?
At UC Berkeley.
Did you have any difficulty entering college? Did the VA help you?
The only difficulty I had, I think, was because after September 11th, we were deployed and I didn't have any time to go to school to get some prerequisites done while I was active duty. When I had separated, I did have to work a little bit harder to get to a certain level in order to get into the schools. Did not have any problems securing VA benefits, although I was unaware of many of the benefits that I was entitled to as a vet.
Could you tell our watching audience what are some of the things that the veterans are entitled to that some of them might not know?
Absolutely.
Yes.
So one of the big issues for me was medical coverage. I did not know that I was entitled to medical coverage as a veteran, and one thing they told me was that you had to either be disabled or retired in order to receive medical benefits, which is not the case. As a veteran, you are entitled to those medical benefits if you have an honorable discharge, which I did at the time. So Yeah, so the medical benefits, also the VA home loan is another benefit that veterans have as well. In addition to the GI, the medical, you also have the GI Bill, which is what can give you free education.
Good, good. Now let's see here. What were your biggest challenges readjusting back into family life?
Well, for me, you know, I didn't have a wife and kids at home, but I think the biggest issue was just trying to become self-sufficient and stable. You know, when you're in the military, you're part of this culture that really takes care of you, and you know everything, all your basic needs are taken care of. It's very egalitarian. When you get out, you're pretty much left to fend for yourself. So becoming, you know, self-sufficient and you know, being able to go home and then move out, start school on my own, find my own place was a priority for me.
So you lived alone when you came out of the military?
Yes, I did.
So I'm sure that was quite difficult.
Yes, yeah, it was a little difficult. You know, I'm from the Bay Area, so I know the Bay Area pretty well. So it wasn't too difficult to find a place. But as far as getting my benefits, you know, the GI Bill definitely helps out a lot to pay for you know, different things like housing and food.
Mm-hmm. So. Now, were you injured while you were in the military?
I was not injured while I was in the military, no.
Uh-huh. But could you tell us how the war affected your mental health?
Well, I would say the biggest impact that it had on my mental health was, you know, like I mentioned before, it's really, you're taken care of very well in the military,
yes.
And there's a certain culture that you have. It's difficult when you leave that culture and leave that support group to transition back into the civilian world, because it's a lot different.
Oh, I'm sure.
Your friends, you know, your social networks, your social capital, it's gone.
Yes.
And I think that is a big problem. I think for me, and I think with a lot of veterans, we tend to isolate ourselves to some extent because our experience isn't the same as our peers, especially going back to college where everyone is 4 years younger than you and didn't have you know, the same level of responsibility and the type of experience that you had while serving.
Mm-hmm. Were any of your friends killed in action?
No. My squadron was not deployed into war zones. We were in support of the war effort for the Air Force.
Good.
So,
good.
Yeah.
Now let's see here. Did you socialize with friends and other veterans and talk about your war experiences with your veteran friends?
Initially, no. It took me about 5 years until I knew that I had medical benefits, and I actually had no idea that there were veteran service organizations like Swords to Plowshares where I work. I had no idea that they existed. So yeah, there were no veteran clubs established at schools at that point. So yeah, it was still kind of continue that isolation.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Do you like to be around people now?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it takes a while. I think for me, it took about 2-3 years or so just to kind of get my feet on the ground and learn how to network is
Yes.
I think a really important thing in college, and volunteering and getting involved in the community mm-hmm. is really part of that transition. So mm-hmm. There's a bit of a learning curve, but it's definitely possible. My experience, I think, because I did not have a combat situation, for a lot of vets that do, it makes it a lot worse. It makes
yes.
it even more difficult to transition in. So that's where community-based organizations such as Swords to Plowshares can really help out with that whole reintegration process.
Good. Now let's switch hats here mm-hmm. and talk about your position at Swords to Plowshares. Tell us what you do there and what some of the services you provide for the veterans.
Okay, so at Swords to Plowshares, I'm a project coordinator in the Oakland office. We have two main offices, one in San Francisco, and in our San Francisco headquarters, in addition to that, we have housing, transitional housing as well. So I work in employment and training in the Oakland office. So my specific job is I work with community colleges, I work with workforce investment boards to develop training programs for veterans. The training programs are usually usually in the green industry or some sort of vocational certification that's short term that could lead to a job. So that's our main focus for those positions.
And about how many veterans do you see a day?
A day, it can range. I mean, our case managers keep a caseload of usually about 20 to 30 people. When I was a case manager when I first started, we usually saw maybe around 3 a day or so, maybe more. But for our program, for my program specifically, it's 125 veterans per year. And you times that by 4, so we're looking at quite a few vets every year.
Good. Now let's see, what is the number one problem that returning veterans need assistance with, like jobs, health issues, finances, housing, education? We sort of touched on that. Would you like to extend more on that?
Absolutely. The issues vary, but one of the major issues is employment. The unemployment rate among veterans is higher than the general population.
Really?
Yes, and we're talking about a group of people who are highly trained, that have a lot of skills they can bring to the table, but have a difficult time really transitioning and transferring their military skills to the civilian equivalent to that. It's also an issue with employers not recognizing the achievements and the careers that the people had while they were active. So I think jobs is extremely important. Educational benefits is something that the VA is working on, and I think they're doing a decent job, but a lot of work does need to be done. There's a lot of veteran clubs at community colleges. Community college system really supports veterans, and veterans can really link together for support groups and to kind of help with that transition, also help with education, securing educational benefits.
Good.
So.
Now it'll come up on the screen, but would you give the address of your agency and tell the hours that it's open so that veterans watching could contact you?
Yes. So. Source of Plowshares, the name of the organization. We're located in the Oakland office, 1433 Webster Street, Suite 100. We've been there for about 2 years or so. The phone number you can reach me at is 510-891-8773.
Good. Now, recently they had a veterans job fair, and the director and I went there. It was this week, and it was quite nice. Could you tell us something about some of these agencies that were invited to come?
Absolutely. So it wasn't sponsored by our organization, but it's Honor Hero Hire a Vet.
Yes.
So they actually run job fairs. They had one, I think, yesterday in San Jose. The one in Oakland on, I think it was Tuesday.
Yes.
So they basically, if employers are looking to hire veterans and actually are hiring, they're looking to have those businesses come and support vets, give them a shot at applying for those open positions.
Could you tell us some of the agencies that were there?
Well, I know that the EDD sponsored it.
Yes.
Source of Plowshares had a table there as well. I don't know the employers because I wasn't present at that particular event, but just basically various employers in the area that are looking to hire. Good.
Well, we went. We were very impressed with all the employers that were there looking for veterans, and the number of veterans who were there too, from all walks of life.
Yeah, the unemployment rate's very high amongst vets, so at these events you're going to have a lot of people turn out. Yes,
Could you talk to the issue maybe that women have when they have to go away and leave their children at home when they're in the war zones?
Well, so that's one thing that I don't have any personal experience with. I know that we have a women's veteran coordinator who was a guest on your show last week, and she would probably be able to give you more information on that than I would. But I'm not too sure about that.
Now, is there anything else you'd like to put out to our watching audience about your services or your feelings or some of the other veterans' feelings, or just anything you'd want to put out?
Well, I definitely would like to give the message to vets that Source of Plowshares is definitely making an attempt to advocate for the issues that they're facing. Come to us if you're looking for employment. We're really trying to build a strong network of employers right now, and we're here to assist. So please contact us if you're looking for any services.
Okay. Now we have a little bit more time here. I was trying to think of any other issues that we might have left out. Were many of your friends deployed to Afghanistan, or what countries were most of your friends deployed to?
Same place that I was, pretty
really?
much. Yeah, yeah. A lot of people went to UAE, Diego Garcia, different areas. So you know, when you're in a certain unit and you do that particular job, everybody that you work with is doing pretty much the exact same thing.
I see.
So wherever they go, you go.
I see.
So that's one of the reasons why those bonds are so strong with people that you serve with. So separating is different. There's not too many working positions, or even in college, where you have that same kind of cultural cohesiveness and camaraderie. Everybody has a shared experience, so it creates really strong social bonds that, when a person separates, are gone.
Now, when these planes came in for you to service, about how many planes would you work on a day?
Around maybe 15 or so.
15?
Yeah. You know, we each had one aircraft that we were assigned to, but that, you know, you would work as they came in. So at the height of our mission, when we were deployed, you know, we would probably work on around 20 a day, and they fly constantly throughout the day, one after the other. We were working 6 days a week, 12-hour shifts, for about 2.5 months or so.
And how large were these planes?
They were really big. Yeah, they were commercial-sized aircraft, jumbo jets. So you know, there's a lot of work to be done, for sure.
But all military planes?
All military planes. Yeah, and they do have civilian equivalents to that. If you know, a lot of FedEx shipping airplanes are DC-10s, which is the same aircraft that I worked on.
Now, do you know how to fly a plane?
I do not know how to fly a plane. Although I took some private lessons for a small single-engine aircraft, but I could not fly one of the big airplanes. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to touch on?
Well, not this moment. I actually had something, but I forgot what I was going to say. So.
Well, maybe you'll remember. We can get to the second half of the program. I'm going to interview one of our interns whose father was in the military. So
Excellent.
Hold that thought.
Will do.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And now, boys and girls and ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break, and then I'm going to be interviewing one of our interns here whose father was in the military. So we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back to the second half of Battlefield Poets. I'm Sally Baker, the host. I would now like to introduce you to my special guest for tonight, and her name is Erika Wilhelm. She's the daughter of a veteran, and she's also one of our interns here on We Poets and Battlefield Poets. And I'm going to interview her about her feelings when her father was in the war. Hi, Erika.
Hi, Sally.
How are you tonight?
I'm great. It's wonderful to be here.
Good. I'm so glad you could come. You're wearing two hats tonight. So my first question is, could you tell us what branch of the military your father and stepfather were in, please?
Well, it was actually my father and my godfather who are best friends, and they were both in the Marines together. So they flew helicopters and jets.
Wonderful. And I'm sure they had lots of stories to tell.
Oh, yeah, they do.
Yes. Did you guys travel around a lot since your father was in the military?
We actually lived down south for quite a while, and then we lived in Pensacola, Florida, and then we came back to LA.
I see.
We kind of moved coast to coast.
So did you miss your friends when you had to move around to different places?
I was still so young, so I think it was more just kind of an exciting experience, especially in Florida, because the beaches are beautiful and it was nice to be there. So
oh, I see.
It was fun. It was an adventure.
So your mom took you to the beach a lot?
Oh. Yeah, as much as often.
Really?
Yeah. Swim, surf, everything. Yeah.
Oh, that's good. And so when you came out here to California, it was a little bit different, right?
The beaches, yes. But I mean, it's still beautiful weather, and you can't complain being in California.
That's right, that's right. And then what did you tell the kids at school while your father was in the military? When they'd say, where's your daddy? Why doesn't he come to different things like this?
Well, especially with sports too, because I've played sports since I was little, so it'd be hard. It'd just be my mom on the sidelines and Dad was, gone. But mainly I was just immensely proud of him. So I thought he had the coolest job in the world.
Oh.
And when he would come home, we got to go to the bases and he would put me up and I get to go in the helicopters and sit in the jets and everything. So I used to come to school and try to just brag to everybody.
Oh, so I bet the kids were jealous because you got to do all these things. And then your father wearing the uniform.
Yeah.
Did he ever come to your classroom and talk to the kids?
For a show and tell day, yeah.
Tell us about that.
Kids would bring their dogs and stuff like that, little trinkets. And I was like, nope, I'm bringing my dad. So he came in suited and booted from the top to bottom. So it was nice.
Oh, and then would the kids come up and hug him? And how would they react to him?
Well, especially the Marines uniforms I think they're so beautiful. So he comes in and staying there and people are just kind of in shock. I mean, we were little, so it was nice seeing that because you can see it on TV or the newspaper, but to actually see someone there live in front of you, it was pretty impressive.
Oh, good. Yeah. And then he would come home and I suppose when he'd take off his things, he'd tell you what the different medals were and things like that?
Just go back to normal, yeah.
Oh, tell us about that, how you felt.
Well, I think my favorite are his dog tags, and I still have them to this day. So they hang on my mirror in my room. So yeah, that was always my favorite. I don't know, out of everything.
Oh, so he would tell you what each one meant and what was written on each one?
Well, their names, and stuff, pretty much, their numbers,
Oh, that's good. So then how did your mom react with your dad being gone? She had to be dad too.
Yeah, she played both roles. And I have an older sister too, so I was still so young, and so it was just kind of us three. It was just all female energy, and she just did her best. We missed him a lot.
Sure.
Yeah.
Did you write to him a lot?
That was probably why I'm so passionate about writing now. I mean, since I was little, Mom, I don't even think my words were making any sense, but I would try, to scribble things, and we took a lot of pictures, and he actually would send us, it couldn't happen often, but when he could, he would send like postcards of places he was or anything like that, and we have a big book of everything, so we've collected it all.
Oh, that's good. Did you send him an audio tape, so he could see what you look like?
No, I don't think
or a videotape.
So we may have. Mom might have been on top of it. I don't remember. I just really know we did a lot of pictures and a lot of writing.
Did you make him any gifts to send him?
Oh, like probably little stuff. I mean, I was tiny, so when he was gone.
Oh, yes.
Because he was in the Gulf War, so when he was there, then I was young. So pretty much when I was growing up, he was closer to home, so it worked a little better.
Oh, well, that's great.
Yeah.
Now let's see here. How did you feel when you saw pictures of soldiers fighting on TV or pictures in a newspaper of soldiers fighting?
How I felt then or now?
Then and now.
Well, then I didn't completely understand the entirety of what would be going on. And when I would look, I would think I was going to spot him or see him, but I think now, especially going to Cal and things happening like in Occupy Oakland, and there's veterans out there and you speaking with them, just the immensity of what's happening there and how dramatic and hard it is. And I mean, your heart goes out to them, so.
Oh, certainly, certainly. And did you tell me you have a friend who was a veteran?
Yes, one of my really good dear friends, James, he served in Afghanistan in '09. So now he's back in San Jose.
Good.
Yeah.
So you get together and...
and it's nice, but the context of war and what happened over there doesn't really get discussed often. He doesn't like to really divulge any information about that kind of stuff.
And a lot of the veterans, they just don't want to talk about that anymore.
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
My cousin was like that. He moved back to the little, way back in the woods in St. Maries, Idaho, and lived a very simple life and just didn't want to talk about all that took place, Do you speak a foreign language?
Spanish. Yes.
And tell us about yourself. What are you studying at Cal? Going to Cal, right?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm a media studies major, and I'm actually graduating this year. So.
Well, congratulations. Well, I want to thank you for coming and being an intern.
It was a pleasure, yes.
So we're going to take a quick break and bring Anthony back. So stay tuned. Anthony's going to come back and join us. We'll be back in just a moment. I would like to thank 3 of our sponsors for providing our refreshments for tonight. And after we finish the show, we are going to have a feast. But first of all, I would like to thank for our pizza here. Our pizza was provided by Little Caesars in Berkeley. And our pastries here were provided by Sven's Hard in Oakland. And the pastries here in front were provided by the Bread Project in Berkeley. And we are going to really have a feast when we finish our program. So we want to thank our 3 sponsors for tonight. We are back, and before we end our program, I would like for our 2 guests to give us any parting words that they would like to say. So here we go with Anthony.
I just wanted to say that if there are any veterans watching the show, if you know any vets who are interested, we're recruiting right now for a training program for cabling technicians for jobs at Comcast and AT&T. So check our website and you'll get more information and opportunity to register for the next class coming up beginning in January.
Great. I hope we get lots of response from that.
Me too.
Erika?
I would just like to commend you and thank you for your service for our country.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's all give him a round of applause. Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to thank you both for coming. And before we end our program, I would like to read a poem that one of my poets wrote to me the first year that we started We Poets. And his name is Sam Fiandica. And he wrote this on March 21st, 1984. And we started We Poets on February the 14th, 1984. And this is Sam's poem. He wrote, the name of his poem is called Without Wars. I wish, I want, I need no wars. Without wars, we could live in harmony, no hate, no anger, no fear. Just the birds chirping, the flowers blooming, and children laughing. And I wish that this would be true, that we would have no more wars. I want to thank both of you for coming. You did an excellent job, and I know our watching audience is going to enjoy it. And I thank all you veterans who served our country. Let's all wave goodbye. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Bye-bye.